Welcome back to Absolute Comics. My name is Benny, that is Sal, and every week we get together talking about the comic books that we've read and the greatest news and the worst news going on in the world of comic books. Today's episode is brought to you by a brand new sponsor, Gamer Subs, a brand of energy drink that is less chalky and kind of more fun. They have a lot of fun with their branding, they have a lot of fun with their posting overall, and they've got cups with waifu girls on them. Well, if you go there, use the code COMICS at checkout, you'll get 10% off of your order. I don't have one to show here, which is terrible because I literally have it in the other room, but next episode we'll have stuff to show. Trust me, you're going to see a lot of Gamer Subs over here, and you're going to see a lot of waifu cups over here. And even Sal is on board because I'm going to send it all to him.
Oh, okay.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about a few topics. I'll do one thing that I do once in a while and then I forget I did it. The Eternals are returning. Stargirl's been canceled. X-Men series celebration. Last of Us TV has a release date. And Wonder Man. And Henry Cavill. We already kind of half discussed the Henry Cavill thing, so we'll briefly touch on that. But I wanted to start with issue 128 of Batman, going into 129. But now we had a whole discussion in front of why I wanted to talk to you about that. I'm trying to remember why I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just so where do you think Batman is going? We haven't read 129 yet. Where do you think it's going with this then?
I think it's still one big fight right now. It's Zdarsky introduced Failsafe, a relic of Tower of Babel.
Which I still think I can't believe 20 years no one thought of this.
I know. I love the idea. Well, because what Wade meant in Tower of Babel is that Superman is the failsafe, but in reality, Batman built a failsafe robot.
Would that make sense though? That Batman would build a failsafe?
Oh yeah, I mean no, like the best kind of retcons actually make sense and at least work in consistency with the character. Right. And in the case of this, failsafe looks dope thanks to Jorge Jimenez's art and is cold, calculating, scary, and it's basically just Batman versus Terminator, and it's awesome. But a Terminator that knows Batman, like a Batman Terminator. That's
the coolest part about it because it's just Batman with no emotional attachment, no care. It knows everything Batman knows. Also knows how to defeat the entire Justice League. That's what I wanted to bring up to you because the big fight with them in the street. Yeah. I loved that the fact that Chip Zdarsky used a magnet on a Hawk Girl. And then before the audience could question it, has Martian Manhunter be like, that's nth metal. It shouldn't work. And and then the characters are like, well, we don't have time to figure it out.
Yeah. No, it's just I need to dispatch that character immediately. We're going to address it. Whoever might complain and move on because I want this character to kick their butt.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love because I think that's what I liked about Scott Snyder's run. Where he paid attention to continuity, but at the same time would throw it out in the same minute, Right. Like, we're going to talk about it, we're going to reference it, and it's gone. It's out. Like, here we go. Hawk Girl should not have been hit by magnets, but you know what we're not going to do? Question it. All against the wall. She's out of the picture.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I love that idea of what Chip Zdarsky is doing with it. Now, my idea, and I thought they were going to do this, is that they were going to turn Gotham into, almost Devil's Reign.
Right, like Gotham is now failsafe country, and it's
right. We're gonna have a 30-issue arc of Batman trying to get it back. But I skimmed through 129, and it looks like they're fighting already. So I don't think we're doing.
Yeah, no, they just keep fighting. It's just more looking ahead at 129, which just came out on the episode that we're recording on the day we're recording this. It's just more. It's just, and that's where it crystallized for me. I'm like, oh, it's Terminator, where it's it's a emotionless robot that can't be bargained with, reasoned with, and will not stop. The only thing is, it's like a moral Terminator because the only reason Failsafe went online is because the idea is that if Batman ever crosses the line and kills anyone, this robot will be activated that stops him.
So that's my only plot hole that I have an issue with. Obviously, this is not what Penguin's plan was.
No, well, Penguin, for all intents and purposes, isn't Penguin supposed to be dead?
He dies, but he times it so that Batman is blamed.
Yes, exactly.
So are we eventually going to still visit that, them accusing Batman of murder? Because there's no way Penguin knew that there was, oh, by the way, I found notes that Batman has a failsafe.
No, this is not part of, this could only have been a happy accident for Penguin, where it's I did not see this coming, but I am very happy it took place. The other thing is, it took me a little bit of reading for me to finally realize, oh, because Batman's fighting this thing, and it's been a while. Like Batman's recovering in Atlantis for a while. For me, I'm like, oh, he needs to prove that Penguin's not really dead. Like that's the only thing that's going to stop him is being like, I never actually killed anybody. See.
But it looks like he's not doing that because, like,
no, he's not. He hasn't thought of that yet. He's in like action mode.
Right. He just wants to constantly fight this thing.
Exactly. And I'm like, why are you fighting it so much? You need to prove that Penguin's not dead, or like, and actually in this issue, I had a chance to read it a little bit, and it says like that some of the ideas that, like, it's trying to anticipate Batman, and so it plugs Oracle, Barbara Gordon, into the computer and like takes over her mind and uses her to strategize. And it's like, what are some of his ideas? And it's like he could go back in time, but it's a little messy. And I'm like, oh, I love that idea because like that's one of those things where it's like, I guess I'll just use a time machine, go back in time, and stop, Penguin from getting killed, and then that'll stop the robot, and then I'll turn it the hell off. But no, I don't know how he's gonna get out of this, but it'll be great to find out because I don't think anybody believes that Penguin's really dead. So it's a hell of a
my argument with this is what I'm hoping for. Okay. And I've got a video coming out about this, so I'll lightly touch on this with you. But I'm hoping this actually has ramifications for Chip Zdarsky's run.
Yep.
Like, I was having this talk with Rob the other day. Rob from Comics Explained. Name drop. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm turning it into a video, and the video title is going to be Why You Don't Like Comics Anymore. Okay? Yep. And it has nothing to do with the woke argument. Part of the problem I feel like comics have right now, and I feel like this is the issue potentially with the Chip Zdarsky run, is the events don't have lasting effects. Now, we both have heard that argument 1,000 times, Sal. Yeah. Oh, this one doesn't have I'm doing Axe. People are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Everyone comes back. And it's like, but
it was great. It was a good read.
Right. And that's the thing. You need to enjoy these events and these moments for when they're happening because no event has ever had lasting events. I asked Rob, like, what is your favorite events? And he's like, okay, I can give you 3 of them. He goes, Civil War, Secret Wars, Secret Empire. And I'm like, none of those have had lasting effects on the timeline of Marvel.
Yeah.
Outside of like 6 months post the event. Like everything's been fixed. Cap and Tony are working together again in Civil War a couple months later. Avengers had to come together. Secret Wars, that one, they just fixed it with a Band-Aid. Secret Empire, Hydra Cap doesn't even exist. And when he showed back up for a minute, Deadpool killed him. Like,
Yep.
And I honestly believe that people like to claim their favorite events because they got really into them because it's either they accept comics or this was one of their first major events. Like people who love Civil War, it was their first major event. So in your head, you're like, this is going to have lasting ramifications. Yes. But as a comic book reader, those ramifications will last about 6 months.
Right. I mean, we were spoiled a little bit because there were conditions that aren't typically set that are in recent memory for a certain amount of events. Like if you look at Civil War had lasting ramifications that lasted a long time. And thanks to Bendis, dominoes were set up by one person who basically just like ushered 5 years or more of Marvel. Like he wrote the flagship books, he wrote the flagship events. Civil War's the only one he didn't have any control over, but like he wrote House of M and disrupted the mutants. He wrote Secret Invasion and set up and displaced the status quo. He set up Dark Reign. He set up Siege. He set, you know what I mean? Like, because one person was in charge of all of it, they were able to dictate the line and allow for change to stay and for that change to be, the status quo. And we're not really getting that now because I think comics are different. Like at least mainstream big 2 comics are different. It's a different time. The strategy through which they sell comics has changed as well. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know if you can actually do that again. And certainly if you did, you'd need somebody who is as like big a name and big a talent as Bendis to take over and do that. But again, one of the big problems in the comic book industry is in any entertainment industry, music, movies, comics, is ego. Like Bendis was able to get away with it because Quesada was like, yeah, knock yourself out, do that thing, we'll have Miller do this Civil War thing. But Bendis got interrupted by Miller, and it was like, I can imagine him being like, what are you doing? But ego is a big player in this. And if you got like a hungry, awesome writer who everyone is saying is like the idea man and awesome and has and can do no wrong, and you're like the editor of that book or the editor in chief, you're kind of just thinking like, well, what about me?
Yeah.
So you might not give them the allowance that they want.
Why?
You might not. You'll never see a time when like one person will write like 17 events all in a row and the flagship books. It's just.
I think the last time was honestly back in the era of Secret Wars.
Well, Secret Wars was just you'll never see Secret Wars again because not only did Hickman write a select amount of the tie-ins, which, by the way, is paralleled in Axe, because Axe is a great event written by Gillen, and all the significant tie-ins are written by Gillen himself.
Yeah.
And it's really rare to see that. But Secret Wars, they canceled all the books and replaced all the books with tie-in books that allowed for the talent who worked for the company to still be employed, try something new, not upset the status quo, and, put out something different. Like, we got A-Force out of that. We got a proliferation of Abigail Brand as a result of that. Like, we got a lot of different really cool ideas out of that. We got one of the few Josh Williamson Marvel comics out of that. He wrote the Red Skull book.
I did not know that. I did not know that at all.
Which is, by the way, just Suicide
the point
Squad
I'm making
in the Marvel
is
Universe.
We're at a date where everyone always argues that there's no lasting effects in comics. But my argument is there never has been truly lasting effects. Like, if you go to manga and an ongoing manga that's been around for 20 years, it's by one guy, and that one guy has done everything and kept it how he wanted it to be. That's part of the problem in American comic books, because what happens is somebody else takes over at Batman, somebody else wants to put their stamp on Batman and tell their story on Batman, and they don't care about the overall events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of excited for what Chip Zdarsky is doing, because Axe is great, but Axe is not going to have any major lasting effects outside of the Eternals. They made sure of that. At the end of Axe, it's like everything is back to normal. We can't resurrect as much, and the Eternals are boned. And it's like, okay, cool. So Avengers just went back to the mountain. Like,
and that really killed me that they like, because I thought they used the like eternal base in the celestial body to create the god. So I was really upset that they had to move back into the celestial, because I hate that.
They're just like, and we parked it back where it should be. Like, what?
Right, exactly. I'm like, that blows, because I really don't like that status quo. I'm just like, I would like things to change a little bit more, make the Avengers a little bit less like Aaron-y, because I love Jason Aaron in a lot of things, but not Avengers.
But the point I'm making is that's what I'm hoping for with Batman, because like everyone likes to argue comics don't change, and my argument is if you honestly feel like comics need to have lasting effects, you don't like American comic book storytelling. Now that's either they have to change or you need to just accept them for how they are. Right. If you can't get over the fact that they constantly go back to the status quo, that's how American comics work. For every superhero they kill, they bring one back. That's just exactly how it's going to work. They're not manga. That's a different way of storytelling. You have one guy in charge, one guy runs it, one guy tells the story from beginning to end. My Hero Academia is going to come to its ending. The writer's like, I have got a plan.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in American comic books. They're not going to end Batman by killing Batman, and we'll never see Batman again.
No, it's night and day between a franchise movie and, a movie that's made to be a movie, like to be one thing. It's like, and by the way, like sometimes they'll make that mistake and create a franchise out of something that is unfranchisable, like Silence of the Lambs, Jurassic Park, where it's like, it shouldn't be a franchise. It's just one thing that really worked out. It's like, how come there's no Gone with the Wind franchise? How come Citizen Kane didn't spin out in a couple of other movies? Like, and I'm not saying that like manga is the Citizen Kane of comics. I'm saying that like, manga, for the most part, is by like one person for either the life of the series or the life of the creator, and that's it. Whereas with Batman, like no one gets to say who's in charge of Batman, because the original creators are dead, and Batman is a corporate sponsor character that is owned by a company. So, and he's also a pillar of the industry, and it's like, you need to sell more of his books in order to keep the industry afloat. Yeah. So, arguing that like these characters don't do, that there's a cyclical nature to them is like, like, okay, so and
that's what when people like to argue that the events and things don't matter, it's like then you got it. What you need to do if you want to enjoy events is enjoy them for what they are. Axe is a great event. Did it have lasting effects on the status quo? Not on the Avengers, not on Spider-Man, probably not even on the X-Men. But if you're reading Eternals, I'll bet it'd be different.
Yeah. If Eternals had a book, that
got canceled. But you know what I mean, like,
right? But there are like there are plot threads, and there's interesting ideas like what Storm was gifted should affect the X-Men line. But again, like Axe is not about how the world was changed. It's really about you, the reader, and how you should change. Because, like, you know, it's like everyone remembers the experience that they had, so, like, that should shake you a little bit.
Yeah.
He actually ended up, it's brilliant of Gillen to, like, work in the meta concept of, you know, like, stories don't necessarily, these events don't necessarily change the outward appearance of the, you know, universe, but these characters still remember that it happened.
Yeah.
And, like, how will that affect you? And, like, you remember it happened because you read it, and how will that affect you? And certain events affect you more than others. I'm sure there are a few people out there who are like, man, Empire really affected me. You know, but maybe Secret Wars was more impactful because, like, it was when you first got into comics, and so as a result, you're like, oh man, like, this is the biggest and bestest thing ever. Or maybe it's the first
that's
time
because I know Civil War brought a lot of people in. A lot of people used it. And that
Civil
was my
War,
example.
Secret Wars, yeah. Absolutely.
And you're not wrong. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to bring it back to the Batman so we can move forward with our topics here.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping with this failsafe and what's going on with Gotham is it will have lasting effects for Chip Zdarsky's run. Because love it or hate it, Tom King's run affected Tom King's run. Tom King fighting Gotham and Gotham Girl came back in the end of Tom King's run. Bane and Flashpoint Batman messing with Batman came around at the end of the story. Same thing happened. Nick Spencer's Spider-Man. He started peppering in Kindred for 100 issues. You had Kindred. We saw what Kindred was. It doesn't matter if you love it or hate it. The individual writer's run can affect the individual writer's run, and that's what you can love in comics. So I'm hoping failsafe and what he's done to Gotham is not going to be 2 more issues. They're like, all right, everything's back to normal.
No, I mean, knowing Chip and how he's running his Daredevil series, like, Daredevil just keeps going. And it's just like, you could read Daredevil from now, including Devil's Reign, you know, from when it started to now, and you're like reading one contiguous story that is just, you know, there are clear chapter breaks, but it's not like he's like, this is the chapter where it's all about Two-Face, and this is the chapter where it's all about Bane, and this is the chapter where it's all...
Oh, yeah,
you know,
Tom King's writing is different from Chip Zdarsky's. I do think Chip Zdarsky did a much better job with Daredevil of moving the story forward, but at the same time, you were constantly being reminded, like, the Devil, like, his Daredevil run is literally like the initial I killed a man into everyone accepting that he killed a man, into Elektra, into the prison, but all of that is stemming out of he killed a man. Even Devil's Reign comes out of he killed a man, but you could easily look at separate arcs that happened within that, you know?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I expect that to be the case with the Batman run as well.
Do we know how long he's on the run, or is he just there till he's done?
He's just there until he's done. And,
Maybe they're done announcing 100-issue runs for people.
Certainly that would be a smart move. I know that Chip has talked about it before, and, like, you know, he was on Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man for a while, and, you know, I think they said they wanted him to stay or maybe move on to another bigger book, but he was like, this is all I got. Like, this is all I wanted to tell, and I'm moving on. And so I imagine it'll be the same with Batman. Although he did say, I remember in an interview, he talked about how he's like, I don't ask for characters. Like, I just do the thing. You know, if you think I'd be good for a character, like, pitch me on that idea, and then, you know, I'll work on it or not, you know. But, like, I only do things that I'm interested in and stuff like that.
Right.
Unless it's Batman. And then he got Batman. So, like, I can imagine him artificially, or at the very least, trying harder. With Spider-Man, he loves Spider-Man, but at the same time, like, he quit that book. Like, that book, he stopped. It wasn't sales, and it wasn't, like, editorial. It was him being like, I'm done. With Batman, I feel like he might be like, I think I've run out of my story, but I don't think I'm done with Batman. So we'll see what I whip up, you know? Like, so I can imagine this could be his longest run on anything.
I'm excited because I still want. I mean, I haven't. His Daredevil run is officially back, right? It's only like a couple of issues.
Yeah,
in?
It's still going. Yep.
Well, it came back. He was done.
Oh yeah. Well,
he was done. Went to Substack. Substack ended, and he came back.
Stopped. No. He never stopped doing Daredevil. He went to Substack, started that stuff up, but also kept doing Daredevil. Now, what happened was Marvel turned his Daredevil run into an event called Devil's Reign.
Yeah,
and then they relaunched it, but, like, it's still the same book, and, you know, you could read Daredevil 4 or whatever issue we're on, but just read it like it's continuing from his first volume.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, it's just.
I got to catch up on the Daredevil stuff. I want to see where he's at with it. Is it interesting so far? Because it should
I'd
be
say
him.
So, yeah.
Should be Daredevil and Elektra going against the Hand, right? Which currently has Punisher running it.
Yes, that's right, and
Okay.
he's aware that Frank's in charge, and he and Elektra just had to go through a ceremony with Stick as the efficient, and so we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, I'll check that one out. All right, well, let's move on to our rest of our other topics because we're already way
Yeah.
over time because we just
true.
had a long. I was late today, so.
fine.
First up, the Returnals are returning to the MCU. Sal, I don't know
Yeah,
why
I'll
people
bet.
are shocked.
Right. I mean, the fact is, like, they were created. They're in the MCU. Like, I imagine they'll be utilized.
Yeah.
Like, people like those characters, and they like that. I mean, Marvel likes those characters. The people who created them like those characters, and they have them under contract, so you might as well use them.
I mean, they just did an event, which I honestly feel like the event is what's going to be in Eternals 2.
Yeah.
Axe is going to be what happens in Eternal. They're going to come in Judgment. We're going to see a bunch of.
That'd be interesting. I'd take that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can see that.
And you could have 3 events going on. Like, you have the lead up to Kang Dynasty. Obviously, that's going to be like their Age of Ultron for the new phase because
Yeah.
Secret Wars is going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread. And but before that, they could be like, oh yeah, no, and in space or on Earth. In time, Kang's doing his thing, and
Yeah.
in
But
the
during
multiverse-
that, they got judged.
but during that, we got judged. That'd be kind of cool. I'd be all right with that.
I don't know. I found it weird that people were like, "The Eternals is going to be canceled. It's the worst performing, worst movie ever." Look, I liked She-Hulk, but if they're willing to put out She-Hulk, why the hell would they not bring back the Eternals?
Yeah,
I
I
made
liked-
$402 million to a $200 million budget, so it made its money.
It
Like,
kind of broke even. Like
Yeah.
it is the low. I think it's one of the lowest ranked Marvel Studios properties of all time, and it's one of the biggest flops of all time in Marvel Studios' career. But at the same time, like, I'm going to make allowances for it because, like, it's really well made. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The actors are good, and
it was their first attempt in the movies trying something different.
yeah, like, go see Thor: Love and Thunder and then watch Eternals and tell me which one looks better and actually has a more cohesive plot. Like,
Yeah.
Thor: Love and Thunder is fine. It is the definition of a popcorn movie, but, like, I don't think anybody gave a crap about making that movie.
No.
Like, the more distance I have from that movie, the more I'm like, man, why did you bother?
That's going to be the most forgettable movie, I think, in the entirety of the MCU. I really
Yeah.
think that Thor: Love and Thunder is going to fall under that. I feel like at the end of
I
the day,
hope
it's going to fall more under Black Widow as a forgettable
Right.
movie because
Ugh.
Black Widow is terrible for when it came out, but the movie
Yeah.
itself would have been fine if it came out at the appropriate time period.
Yes.
So now in a MCU rewatch, you just watch it when it's supposed to air.
Yep.
And it fits. It fits
That's
fine.
right. It does. It does. It's too bad it's ugly.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean,
like,
there's a
it-
number of issues with it, but
Yeah, Black Widow, like, man, if it didn't end on that stupid skyship, like, it would have been really better. Like, if
yeah,
it had, if
it was
had
a
taken
much
place,
more grounded spy movie until they got to the sky ship.
right until we got to the skyship with Harvey Weinstein at the helm, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? Like, because you think you need to? Because it looks ugly. Like, this CG is terrible, and this is nonsensical. I hate this.
Right.
Same with Thor: Love and Thunder, where it's like this. There's that whole opening where the Guardians and Thor are fighting those, like, tick monsters, and I'm like, I don't care about anything that's happening. Like, look, I see a lot of money on the screen right now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I couldn't give two shits about what's going
Thor:
on.
Love and I mean, at the end of the day, it literally gets lumped into a Transformers movie for me. And you know what I can tell? I love
Transformers
the
looks
Transformers movies.
better.
I like the Transformers movies, but I can't tell you the plot to those 3 movies. I think there's a 4th one. I can't tell you the plot at all to any of them because it's.
I didn't even, I didn't see one of them.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know, the one where with Anthony Hopkins. I didn't see that one. But yeah, I saw Bumblebee though, and I like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Bumblebee was good.
Yeah,
All
I really
right.
like Bumblebee.
Next up on our thing is that Stargirl is going to be canceled over at CW. Neither of us are watching this one, but it is news.
Yes.
But I'm also not surprised. I mean, CW is pretty much shuttering down at this point. It's shutting its doors. It's closing up. So
Fine, good. Let it die. You know,
Yeah.
like I know, you know, a lot of joy was taken from that show or from that idea, and they should be very proud of what they've achieved.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They even got a chance to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths. Way to go.
Oh,
That's really cool.
the Arrowverse was incredible. I loved it. Like,
Right?
I no shade at all to that.
No.
But with HBO Max, Discovery, they're taking apart CW.
Yeah.
I'd rather it just be over than them
Yes.
trying to like staple on non-linking shows and just trying to make
No.
something work.
Right, or like have one show that's just like limping forward.
I mean, that's
where it's
Flash right now.
It
Flash,
is.
Flash has not had a memorable season since like 4 or 5. Like,
No. Flash needs to stop. Stargirl, Stargirl is one of those things where I know it was developed, I think, originally for HBO Max, and so it's like it wasn't even supposed to be a CW show, and it shows. And
I mean, that's Superman and Lois. It doesn't feel like a CW show.
No.
It just somehow ended up over there. Like
So it's like, okay, like let it end, and then
you know what that
move on.
reminds me of, Sal? Whatever happened to that Naomi show?
That got canceled hard. Yeah. No, I remember. I mean, that comic was made to be a show pitch.
Oh,
and then
he
they
named
made
it Naomi Season 1.
I know. And then they changed it. I'm like, just make the comic. And they're like, no, we're gonna change stuff.
This goes back to our topic we had about Henry Cavill and The Witcher, and people just making their own show but getting the license to something else.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Like Bendis should. Part of the reason why Bendis even went to DC in the first place, in my opinion, how I feel about this is, I think that Bendis, since he was kicked off of the original Marvel Brain Trust at the cinematic level, he was like, well, I'm not going to be editor-in-chief, I'm not going to be the president of this company, and I'm only going to be the writer of these books. There's nothing for me here. But if I go to DC, they can like put me on like the Jeff Johns Brain Trust, and what he wouldn't, of course, know, what nobody would know, is that the whole damn thing would fall apart and implode. And so many different management shifts and acquisitions and whatnot. So like there was it's like when your friend tells you like you can stop by any time, and then you do, and he's in the middle of some like really serious situation, like he's moving or he's having an argument with his wife, and you're just like, hey man, you told me to come over. It's like, no, I know I told you to come over, but I'm just in the middle of something right now. Like Ben is like, I'm here, DC, you're welcome, and they're like, oh yeah, right now we're out of money and everything's falling apart, but we do appreciate you're here. And like, yeah, and I'm here so that I can start like writing on TV and movies and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, and we definitely meant that when we told you to come here.
Yeah.
but that might change. Like I know I told you that like I'm free this Saturday to go camping, and I want to go camping. but the septic broke. And I really have to deal with this right now.
It's so hard to be a DC fan right now. I can only imagine what it's like to be a DC writer. You know what I mean? Like especially during that transition from like New 52 to DC Rebirth, and then just everything. They're just like, we're out of money. What do you mean WB Works is owned by AT&T now? AT&T should have money. How are we out of money?
Exactly. So so I imagine that Bendis like the fact that Bendis wasn't the showrunner of the Naomi show is outrageous. Because at that point, it's like, why not, right? I mean, after we saw the Naomi show, it's like, well, anybody would have done a better job than that. So you might as well at least give it to the guy who wrote the damn thing.
Right.
But that didn't happen, and the show got canceled, and it's like no surprise there. And Bendis is just like doing what is he doing? Like where is he?
Is he Superman? He's off Superman.
He's off Superman. Williamson and Philip Kennedy Johnson are doing Superman.
I didn't know Williamson took it over.
Yeah.
When did that happen? For Warworld?
Yeah.
I thought Warworld was somebody else.
Well, Philip Kennedy Johnson did Warworld, and then he's going to continue with Action Comics, I think. But
because Williamson's like writing everything at DC now.
Well, at the very least, he's like trying to help steer the damn ship, like with this Dark Crisis that everyone wants to bag on. But like if you read it, it's like it's really cool and it's got great art, and sure, there's no major protagonist, but like I think they want it to be Dick Grayson.
According to his wiki, he's still on Justice League, which we know isn't accurate. So
that is 100% inaccurate. There is no Justice League right now.
No, it ended with 75, right? With the Black Adam Naomi combo.
Yeah.
But that was another thing. I still loved when Bendis went over to Justice League, and he's like, and they've got Naomi!
There are at least 2 covers of Justice League where they're like, Naomi, right?
What I loved about that, though, is Naomi would have fit perfectly with Teen Titans, would have fit perfectly with Young Justice. There's so many teams you could have put her on.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm putting her on Justice League.
No. Well, because if I cared, or if I were 20 years younger, or if I didn't have a bout with death, I might be interested in playing the long game and like taking over Young Justice, which he did, but like putting Naomi on the team. I'm like, I'll do that with Ginny Hex. But like, if I want Naomi to pick up, if I want a Miles Morales Naomi, then I'd better put her at front and center.
Yeah.
Get her out there and just force you to see and recognize and understand who that is. Like, there is no other character from all of the attempts by DC to propel a bunch of new characters that has gotten more, like, deliberate push by their own creator than Naomi. And I'm not going to count, like, Kyle Rayner because he's a Green Lantern. He was a legacy character. And, but, like, if you look at the history, like, there was that awful Bloodlines and no one, like, Gunfire and, like, Absinthe or whatever. But, like, there's a bunch of nonsense. But, like, the character that got out of that, Hitman. And even then, like, Hitman didn't last very long, but, like, Hitman got his own book. And why? Because it was written by Garth Ennis. And And Hitman hit around the time when people would be reading a Hitman comic book. So, but the culture picked that, you know, with the Dark Matter universe, you know, like DiDio's like, look at these characters, and they pushed Sideways by making him look like Spider-Man. But the culture at large was like, I think Sideways. I think out of all these characters,
you know what's weird? Sideways
Damage.
and their Hulk Damage. They just gave up too early. They didn't like they tried to go like no they're over here. They're doing their own thing.
Right.
Why are you not teaming them up with anyone?
Well,
Getting them
integrated. Because older comic book guys who thought they had more time were like, well, we'll earn the audience's trust by like letting them build their own spot. Like, look, the fact that Silencer, Sideways, Damage, the Challenge of the Unknown, the Terrifics, like all of them had their own books that were greenlit and had like top talent on them, or at least mid-tier talent on them, like that shows they were like, we're pushing this hard. But at the very least, they didn't go like, Silencer is leading the Teen Titans, and no, I'm sorry,
I know.
Sideways is leading the Teen Titans. Silencer's running the Suicide Squad. Damage is on the Justice League. You know, like they didn't do that. You know, and Bendis is like, I don't care. I have no I don't. None of these characters are precious to me.
It's funny because I actually looked up some of the more Bendis characters. Like I forgot he made Ginny Hex.
Yeah, Ginny Hex. He did, and he put her on the Young Justice.
He did.
And guess who? And guess who's been used so much since then? Not Ginny Hex.
None of the characters he made. Like Naomi got put into Justice League by him.
I love. There's a scene. I think it might be in the Dark Crisis when the Justice League dies, and Naomi's there for a hot second. She's like, "I should have been there." That's her line.
Yeah.
I should have been there. And I really like that line because it's like, is she saying, like, is she complaining? I know that, like, in the context of the scene, she's like, oh, I should have been there. I would have helped them. But, like, is Williamson saying, like, I should have been there, but no one would have given a crap?
Right.
You know?
It's actually funny because one of the things, I just looked up Brian Michael Bendis just to see where he went now. Remember Jinx World was going to be a thing by DC?
Of course.
It's on
out.
Substack.
Yeah, he took it.
Yeah, he took it with the Substack with it. So
yeah.
Things did not go as planned.
No. But, you know, what's funny is Bendis got his, you know, Bendis got paid a lot to be there. So, like, I don't feel bad because he got to do everything he wanted to do. He had Superman, and he did everything I didn't want to do with that character.
I mean, it didn't work in the level of like, oh my God, everyone loves it, but that doesn't matter. He got paid to do it. He got to do all the books he wanted.
Yes, but even if he didn't, no one could have predicted that, like, some random newspaper blogging website got $1 gazillion in seed money, and that they would have called all their friends and invited them to get paid oodles of cash to take what is essentially a blog or a Patreon and put it behind an even bigger paywall where they don't actually have to make any rewards or produce any content and be like, here you go. Like,
I still cannot believe why that Substack deal ended up panning out, because a few of them are still around.
Yeah, they're still doing it. Well, they're all doing it. It's just that, like, no one's hearing about it, or, you know, you're here. I saw a, like, damning Reddit thread maybe about 4 or 5 months ago where they're like, here are all the Substacks from comic books. Like, here are the comic book creator Substacks where they are not worth it. And then broke down every single creator and what they're doing and what the rewards are and how they're not effing worth it. And I was like, and I did not write that.
I did not write that.
I promise you. No, I just saw that and was like, oh, because what I did was I went like, good for you guys, good luck. And then
That's what I did. I was like, I hope it works. I don't see how this could work. But I've been wrong before is what I was saying. Like,
exactly. Like, I don't see it. I've seen the data, you know, and like we're on another side of it, but like it doesn't look like that's a wise investment. But grab that bag. You know what I mean? Like, get your money. I don't blame you. And it's just so funny that Bendis is like, Bendis is coming, and he shows up. He gets a huge check, and it's just like and it's overall a critical dud. And then he's like, "Damn." And then Nick Spencer calls him and goes, "Do you want like tens of thousands of dollars to create a blog?"
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
I mean, James Tynan just made a whole statement on his Twitter about how he's like, if they're going to charge me for a Twitter verification, I don't even like Twitter. Twitter's a cesspool, which I agree with wholeheartedly.
He's right, but also like that, dude, James, like you quit Twitter to do Substack. We know you don't like Twitter. Like,
yeah.
You're using it to promote your Substack again. Like you're just
he said that. If you read the thread, he said that. He's like, I'm only back to promote my Kickstarter.
Right, of course.
And the numbers I got of Kickstarter from Twitter are garbage compared to Substack. And he's like, so why would I pay for it? Like that was his argument.
No, and I mean, like if we can talk about that for just 2 seconds, the blue check mark at Twitter. If I can pay for it, then it's valueless.
No, I agree. I'll probably end up doing it when it first comes out just to see what it does. Like, but the thing with the blue check mark is that it never actually meant anything. I'll tell you right now, I've been trying to get that blue check mark in the comic store. First, if you get it, you have a higher chance to pop up in people's feeds, so you can actually get more followers. Yep. So I've been trying for 5 years. I've had connections. I've had people call them for me. I've submitted. Dude, I submitted as a writer. I was like, I've written articles, and I've had articles written about me. Here they are, and they were like, those aren't relevant enough. I wrote a comic, and there's articles. How can I get more relevant?
Yeah. Dude,
they use that blue check mark as like, are you in the cool kids club?
Yeah.
Or are you a multi-million-dollar like celebrity?
Yeah.
Like those are your two ways to do it.
Except there's some random people who are not celebrities at all who are like, I got a check mark because I'm a journalist. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like,
I feel like the only reason those even exist is because they're like, well, we got to approve some people, but if we do like small ones, no one will care.
Yeah, no, I just got rejected like right before the Elon announcement. Like we got a thing that was like, unfortunately, you were not, and it wasn't even like, unfortunately, like this doesn't qualify or this doesn't meet our criteria. It was just, unfortunately, you were rejected.
That's what I've gotten all the time. I submit every time they let me. I'm like, how much more do I have to prove that I have a YouTube with 3 million followers? Like, what do you need from me to get verification?
No, and like we've had impersonators on Twitter, and I'm like, we have impersonators. Like, we need to prove that we're the legitimate outfit, and they're like, no. But now I can just pay $8 a month, and I'm like, but it's like, no, I don't think I'll be doing that. And here's the big thing for me: I will never pay. I will never pay for as long as I can for something I know is free. Like it's like a convenience fee.
I'm not against that. I'm not against paying for what is free, but if I'm paying, there better be more to it than I got a blue check mark.
Right. Well,
I better get some kind of priority. I better work better with my algorithm. They're lumping it into Twitter Blue, so you're getting the edit feature, which I was already considering getting because I'm terrible. If anybody reads. I don't use Twitter except to do research for these shows and like put up a comic book page so that our Twitter doesn't go dormant. I hate Twitter. I hate people on Twitter. I also leave the DMs open because there are some people who directly talk to me. Yeah. But I'm talking like the general discourse on Twitter.
Right.
Half the videos on Absolutely Marvel and DC is me finding some random discourse on Twitter and we laugh about it.
Yeah.
But I am terrible about spelling on my tweets, so I thought about getting blue just for the edit feature.
Yeah, just to say, I was verified.
Yeah. Well, when they said that they're going to lump verification with it, I'm like, well, I was considering it for editing. $8 maybe. $5 is the edit feature, if you didn't know. Blue will give you the edit feature for $5. And I was like, maybe I'll do that. For $8 for verification, I might do that. $20 for verification, if you're not throwing stuff in there other than a picture on my icon, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, no. They were definitely going to... Yeah, no, it was originally going to be 20, and then he changed it to 8 in an argument with Stephen King, which I think was his way of marketing that he was actually going to change the number anyway. But even then, like, the reason why I'm not going to pay for it is because it is free, and there is no benefit. And I've been unverified for so long, I don't need to...
Twitter's terrible. I don't like Twitter.
Also, let's say I do pay, right? Like, everyone else is going to pay. It's not like there's a status thing, but it is like a lot of illegitimate outfits are just going to pay to get a blue check mark, and now it doesn't have any value. It doesn't have any meaning.
Yeah. It's quickly not going to have any real meaning.
Right. All it does is say I'm willing to pay $8 for like an emoji or for like a gravatar. Like, eat me. I'm not going to do that.
Let me get us back on the topic then.
Yeah.
X-Men is celebrating 30th anniversary.
Can't believe it was
There's not
30
much
years
to
ago.
say about this. Huh?
I can't believe it was 30 years ago.
I know. Talk about feeling old, huh?
Yeah.
Dan put a joke here. Morph! Which made me realize, I can't remember. Did they bring Morph to the comics?
Okay, that's a very complicated question. There is a morph.
Okay.
There is a morph in the comics. It's not the one you recognize. I think they did put like a more similar morph in the comics, but it's not the one that everyone likes and remembers. There's an Age of Apocalypse morph who looks more like the chameleon with a big cape. And that's Morph.
Oh, I do remember him. Yeah, because they revealed him, and I'm like, what is this?
What? And it's like, that's not the Morph from the cartoon.
Because the Morph from the cartoon was nothing more than they introduced a character so they can kill him.
Yeah, that's right. They introduce a killable character.
Yeah, we're going to make a new X-Men so that we can kill him, and Wolverine is going to feel bad about it.
Yeah, that's what happened. And it was like, it's a brilliant move because let me tell you, I felt bad. Like, I was like, oh, man, I liked Morph.
Yeah.
It was funny and interesting. They dragged it out. But,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
So the next thing on our list here is that The Last of Us has a released date for it.
Oh, the show.
I'm trying to find the guy's name. This is the only adaptation that I kind of have hope for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because Neil Druckmann, that's it. The guy who made Last of Us is show running the show.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
the argument, like, it'll be the same argument as like when Neil Gaiman changed Sandman stuff. Like, it's the creator making the changes.
Yeah.
So in theory, we're still going to get the core Last of Us story in The Last of Us.
Can you imagine if like it wasn't? If like the
Oh my
Last of Us game was like, okay, well, it's not going to be about like them.
We already know it's about Joel and Ellie, though. Like, that's
It's going to
already
be about his
leaked.
brother.
It's Joel's brother. Joel and Ellie are over here. I want to tell you the story about Joel's brother.
Like, yeah.
But I am excited for that. I like the first one. I got bored of the second one. Never did it. I keep meaning to go and actually play it, but I just got bored.
It's not great.
Well, it's funny because the amount of people that gave it shit because of all the stuff in it, like they're like, oh my god, they're like,
it's not great because the story sucks.
That's what I like when you go past all the hate mobs about all the stupid stuff. I was like the core of the plot in 2 is around Ellie getting revenge and then learning that she doesn't need to get revenge. And when that was described to me, it was like, that was the plot of the first one. So why are we relearning the same lesson? And then, spoilers for Last of Us 2, which came out like 2 years ago, when they found out that Joel got killed, I was at first like, that's fitting, because if you played the end of Last of Us 1, he wasn't the hero. Like, it's fitting that got handled, but at the same time, why did you do it? Like, there's no reason to have done it.
Right.
Other than shock value.
No, it is unearned.
Yeah. Like, you ended the game without him getting any ramifications for all of the shit he did in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Unless that's going to be the exploration of the second game, which I'm on board with, you just threw it in there to give her more reason to get revenge, which is the concept of the first game. So, and then on top of that, I just got bored. I got bored trying to play it. So I was just like,
that's fair.
So, but yes, it's got a date. I'm excited for it because I know it's about the first game, which I do really like the plot for.
Yeah, it's a tight story. It's a great game. So hopefully it's a good show.
All right, so last topic of the day. We're real quick. Henry Cavill is being replaced by Liam Hemsworth on The Witcher Season 4. We had a whole discussion about that, but generally, we both... Sal thinks he's going over there for Superman. I think he's leaving because of the leaks that he was not going to stay with the project if they strayed from the book. Mm-hmm. We're both just happy to see him as Superman, though, so...
Completely. No, we're down, so that's great.
Yeah. So, all right. The last topic. Now, this was a funny one.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce his name. I'm not going to try. Can you?
Oh, well, let me take a look.
But they've cast Wonder Man.
Oh, yes. Who played Black Manta in the
sweet.
In the Aquaman movie.
Okay.
Yaha Abdul Mateen.
Look, here's my reaction yesterday when I was streaming, because I've been trying to get back into some kind of a 2-hour, 4 days a week streaming schedule.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
I'm so tired of like random announcements of random castings in random shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, here's an actor you barely know. He's Black Manta, so I do know that now, but he's an actor you barely know who's going to play a superhero that no one knows, and they're getting a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't care. Make it, and then show me, and then I'll be excited. But how am I supposed to get excited about Wonder Man? Wonder Man! Do any of you know who Wonder Man is?
I mean, I did, in a big bad way. Wonder Man's a major character, and he's the focal point of Vision's whole brainwave thing. But you know,
but he hasn't been a thing in so long.
No,
I remember the last thing I can
him.
remember Wonder Man being prominent in. He was a part of Avengers Disassembled, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Well, he was. He was in Avengers No Surrender.
Okay. But it was that era. Wonder Man hasn't been a thing in like 15 years, other than maybe
even in No Surrender, he wasn't important. Like he was a big whiny crybaby.
Yeah. So I don't know why people are getting excited about. It's funny because we're in a day and age where all of you, and I'm looking at you, and you know who I'm talking to. It's not all of you individually. Don't do that. But you know who I'm talking about, who want to shit on anything Marvel does. Anything.
Yes.
She-Hulk's terrible. What If is terrible. Moon Knight was terrible. This Thor: Love and Thunder was terrible. MCU's trash. But oh my God, they cast Wonder Man.
Yeah.
What?
I think it's residual. Like I think it's like it's like a residual kind of like reaction. Like, we're supposed to do this. I've been doing this for so long, like for 10 years now. Every time that Marvel every time that, like the trades go, like so-and-so is playing so-and-so, we're supposed to go, ah!
Yeah.
And it's just like, but the so-and-sos are Nighthawk and Wonder Man and Sleepwalker and Kazar. And it's like, oh, so they're like, so the same amount of people are freaking out at like Iron Man and War Machine level, like cheers, but you know, fewer people even know what the hell they're cheering for.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Wonder Man? I can't tell you his powers. I don't know his powers.
He's made of energy, but
but like I said, he hasn't been prominent since like mid-2000s Avengers.
Yeah. No, he hasn't been prominent. He hasn't been prominent in the Avengers since before Disassembled.
I Disassembled when I really got into like Avengers.
Yeah, no, he wasn't even there.
Because Jack of Hearts is another one that people were like, Jack of Hearts, and I'm like,
right.
Isn't that the guy that blew up in Disassembled? Like,
yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is that. He's also like a romance character in the She-Hulk book, but like, because he's back now. He's finally back. Literally, he died in Disassembled. He's back like now, and it's like,
well, he showed up in Hawkeye, didn't he? Wasn't it the Hawkeye show he showed up in?
No, he showed up. What? Jack of Hearts?
I thought he was the.
That's the swordsman.
Oh, that's right, swordsman. Yeah.
But again, like, oh, swordsman.
Yeah, everyone was freaking out about swordsman, and I'm like, who the fuck cares?
He bangs Mantis. Will they do that? Probably not. That would be confusing. But listen, it looks like the Guardians go to Earth on in the Christmas special, so there's chance.
But yeah, I just don't understand the excitement over Wonder Man. Like,
there isn't any. It's just I'm supposed to get excited about an announcement that these guys tell me to be excited about, but you know,
right?
It'll wear off.
Well, and that's the show today, guys. Absolute Comics. Let us know down below what you think about any of these topics in general. This is a beefy episode, considering I didn't think we'd have much to talk about. That's why I brought up the Batman topic at the beginning.
True. Yeah.
But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Benny. That is Sal. You can find us over at Comic Storian and Comic Pop, or at Absolutely Marvel and DC on a daily basis across all these channels. And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Gamersupps. Use the code COMICS at checkout. Help us hit some huge goals. Seriously, if you guys can help us hit those goals, you'll help keep this show in the air, and I'll be super appreciative to you. And if you do enough of them, I haven't said this yet, but if you can get us enough sales, they're going to make a waifu cup of Benny, and I'll be a waifu woman. So that's what they do. If you're down, they make a waifu of you, and they put it on a cup. So if you ever wanted to see me with big boobs.
Who hasn't?
Sal, you're such a good friend. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. I'm Puller Rob. Peace.